After an accident, minutes matter. Your words and actions matter even more. You need help, and you need it now. This is David versus Goliath, brought to you by Dolman Law Group Accident Injury Lawyers, a boutique firm with a reputation for going head-to-head with the insurance company giants and putting people over profits.
Hi, I'm Matt Dolman. Welcome to another episode of the David and Goliath podcast. I'm joined with my partner in crime, Stan Gipe. Stan, I guess we're going to do another update today on Suboxone. I mean, I know this has been a steady topic. You're on the Plaintiff Steering Committee, but there's a lot going on in the case, and there's been some recent updates. And let's kind of tell our viewers, because, you know, we have a lot of people that are checking our site and checking on YouTube, our videos weekly, to see what's happening in the case. So what's the latest?
All right, so we just had another Plaintiff Steering Committee meeting this morning to go over the updates on what's happened, recently in the last few weeks. Primarily right now, current events, what's going on is working out the method for getting discovery of electronically stored information, also known as ESI. Okay, so that's one of the issues we're dealing with. And one of the other issues that's coming to a head right now is whether or not this court has jurisdiction over some of the foreign defendants. That's what's being fought about. So those are the two issues that are being teed up. So when you think about stuff like this, we talk about electronically stored information, right? It's not like it used to be where we got boxes of paper and someone goes through it and gives you relevant paper. What happens is, these companies, these big companies we're dealing with have a vast store of information. It's almost like searching Google, right? I mean, because they've got so many documents, right? And so what we're working on, and it may seem simple, but it's not really, is the search terms. What search terms are we asking the defendants to put in to get the documents we're looking for? And as anyone knows, okay, crap in, it's crap out, all right? If you're not using the correct search terms for Google, you're never going to find what you're looking for. And you got to understand, too, when you've got a defendant, when you're suing someone in litigation, they're not going out of their way to show you or point you to the document that's going to help your case and hurt theirs, right? They're good.
So my question is, and I know I want to kind of not the word isn't dumb this down. I guess it would be the wrong term because that sounds pejorative, and our clients are very smart, but they're not lawyers. So when we talk about document review, and I know we can only speak about certain generalities because obviously what we discussed in the Plaintiff Steering Committee meeting is obviously a privileged, and it can't disseminate that to the general public. But what are we what's the overarching goal? What are we looking for here? Like when our clients are wondering, what does it mean when we're doing a document review and we're looking for electronically stored information? What are we actually looking for?
Well, the simple answer is documents relevant to our arguments, right? That's the most simple answer. But when you get down to it, there are certain things like we've got some allegations and suspicions regarding marketing, right? We want to look into marketing documents. Hey, this case centers around Suboxone strips rotting out teeth, right? And then we want to look at, is there a reason that these Suboxone strips were out on the market when a potentially safer alternative was available? Were there some reasons these safer alternatives weren't released sooner, right?
And we both know that, based on prior litigation regarding the antitrust case brought against Indivior, the manufacturer of Suboxone, the defendant in this very case, that they had the tablets that were available to them. They were about to the patent was about to expire. They're going to face generic competition, so they rushed the sublingual form to market. At least that is our belief, and that's what we're trying to prove up in this case.
Right, that's one of the big issues. Let's get into the documents, right? And some of this goes deep into patent copyright law, right? Like if you're a drug manufacturer, there are different laws that give you an exclusive right to distribute different products. So you've got a product like Suboxone. When you're the exclusive distributor of Suboxone, you're making a lot of money. Okay, when that patent starts to run out and the generics start to come in, that eats away at your profits. So is it, hey, now we're going to push this Suboxone strip because other people can make tablets. Now let's move into the strip and try to push the strip as the next greatest thing because we're the only ones making it, right? And then you got to look at, well, did they have knowledge that this strip was rotting people's teeth? And if so, are there safer alternatives that they kept off the market for purposes of sort of using that as a next salvo? Like, hey, once we run out of our patent time, once we quit being the exclusive distributor of the strip, what are we going to exclusively distribute next? Right? So there's certain things like injections, things like that. And we want to see why these things weren't brought on the market. Okay. And there's a number of internal documents. What did the defendants know about this Suboxone strip's propensity to rot teeth? What did they do to investigate it? How did they come to these conclusions that these strips dissolve in 2 to 3 minutes when the people we're talking to say these things take 10 minutes or much longer to dissolve?
Yeah, I mean, some of our clients are saying that they take it right before bed and it's still sitting in their mouth when they wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning. And you can think of the cumulative exposure that an individual has at that area of their mouth. But another issue I kind of want to get into, I know we want to do kind of a quick update today, but I think our clients are very thirsty for this information, is we're looking at clients in every state now. We've opened up the statute of limitations is no longer going to inhibit us from taking a specific case. Let's discuss that for a moment. So for a long time, we were not taking cases in the 1 and 2 year states, meaning states with a 1 or 2 year statute of limitations for product liability claims. Why have we opened it up? What is our argument? What has changed? And what's the overall game plan here?
Because here's what's happening, right? You got a statute of limitations, which is the time within which you need to bring a claim. Okay, the statute begins running, and we're going to go the most simple explanation of this we can, at the time an individual knew or should have known about his claim, right? So if you get into a car wreck and your neck hurts, well, you should know you've got a claim for that car wreck right now, right? If you have a surgery and a doctor left a sponge inside of you, well, you're not going to know about that cause of action until you start having some symptoms because you'd have no reason to know there's some kind of sponge inside of you, right? So on this particular product on Suboxone, there was a time in June, I believe June of 2022, where
June 11th.
June 11th, 2022, they put a warning out there or a notice about Suboxone potentially causing tooth decay, or be careful. This has been reported. My understanding is this warning came on page 8 of a pamphlet of information, the insert about the drug. So now the question is, hey, is putting a warning on page 8 of the insert actually enough to put a reasonable person on notice that this could rot your teeth, right? I mean, and this is the real question, because I can promise you, okay, I take Advil, Aleve, we take all kinds of different things occasionally. I can promise you I've never read the 8th page, right? I read how many pills do I need to take for my size, weight, and that's hard enough to find on there, and you don't read deeper. So is putting this on the 8th page actually putting people on notice that Suboxone could be rotting their teeth? That's a question.
So the argument is that, inherently the strongest form of a warning label is a black box warning label. That's an actual change in the label that you're looking at the product and you see it right on there. This is an insert, which is considered the weakest form of a warning label. Further, on page 5 of this very pamphlet, this very insert, they instruct users of Suboxone sublingual not to brush their teeth, which intuitively it's counterintuitive to what one would think. If they have dental hygiene issues, you think you got to brush your teeth more. But unfortunately, this acidic component is sitting under teeth. You're basically scraping away your tooth enamel when you brush your teeth. They tell you to actually rinse your mouth for 30 seconds. But no one actually knows that because most consumers are not actually looking at the insert. They're not reading the entire pamphlet. Even more troubling is Indivior never sent out what's known as a Dear Doctor letter, sending a letter to physicians known to prescribe Suboxone, telling them about the very dangers. Most physicians have no idea how dangerous Suboxone is, or that it causes dental issues such as tooth decay, tooth loss, so on and so forth.
So, yeah, and to get back to this whole statute of limitations issue, one question that we can't answer, because it's a question of fact, right? You need a juror or a judge, someone to answer it, is that warning on page 8 sufficient to put people on notice that Suboxone was rotting their teeth? If the answer is yes, that June 11th, 2022 date is when the statute starts running. If the answer is no, that June 2022 date does not trigger the statute. So as we're approaching June 2024, right, this is the 2-year limitation, right? We had to stop taking cases as the statute of limitations approached, because if, in fact, the statute began running when that ad was put, or when that notice was put on page 8, we would be taking these claims so close to the statute closing that we couldn't do everything we needed to do to get them filed in time, and we could be on the hook for blowing a statute. Now that the statute, that June date has passed, right, we no longer run that risk, because we're not on the hook we're not on this case when the June date passed. So we can now bring these cases, letting people know that there's a possibility that the statute may have run, right? But we can still bring these, push them forward now, because if, in fact, the warning was invalid or not sufficient to put people on notice, statute hadn't run yet, and we're putting these cases back in the mix.
And we feel pretty confident about our argument today.
Oh, I feel very confident about the argument. You can't make any guarantees. You can't make any promises.
Of course not.
And as an attorney, you got to be hyper-technical and hyper-careful, right? But I sit here, people listening to me, everyone who's listening to this, I will be shocked if more than 5% of this audience has ever read the entire pamphlet for any medication they've took.
I think you're even overestimating the number. I think would be well less than 5%.
Well, I think you may get 5%.
I read the entire pamphlet?
Well, you've got some people who have significant ongoing medical conditions that have to be, are particularly susceptible to things, so they need to read the whole pamphlet. Like if you're suffering from some rare cancers, some things like that, you got to read through. You
would actually trust your physician who's prescribing it, that they understand the interactions with other drugs. I think most people are not reading it. They're trusting their physician, which also goes into the fact that they were never provided, the physicians were never provided a Dear Doctor letter by Indivior saying this drug can be dangerous or can cause the following issues. Know that when you prescribe it. And they never had that information. Most physicians that we've heard from have had no idea that Suboxone can cause this.
Well, okay, and here's the kind of thing that I can't get past on this, right? Is, okay, if I'm having a tooth problem, like if I was to sit here and go, oh man, I'm getting cavities, right? Number one, I got one line of defense. What am I going to do? I'm going to brush and floss more. I got to get in there, brush longer, floss more, because what else do you have to do? How else can you protect your teeth? It's the only weapon we have. So these poor people, right, they're getting out there, they're getting the Suboxone. If their teeth are starting to rot, well, now they're brushing more. They're brushing after they take this. They're just brushing, doing whatever they can to keep their teeth from rotting. And unbeknownst to them, this Suboxone is softening the enamel on the teeth. So if you brush right after the Suboxone, you're actually causing more harm. Well, if you're going to, sit here, right? Think about this, okay? If you're creating a drug and you're creating a situation where brushing people's teeth is going to be bad for their teeth, don't you think you should tell them? I mean, it's that simple, because everybody brushes their teeth, and you brush it more if you think there's going to be a problem. So, this is a big deal. And you know what and I'm going to kind of pet people. I hate the fact that people try to make this like a nothing, right? And so many people look at this and think, oh, this is a marginalized community. These people have a history of drug addiction, that kind of stuff. Look, it doesn't matter. Well, any of this, we've all got teeth, right? We've all got a mouth. We've all got to eat, right? We all do the same thing. We might not have all made the same choices throughout our life, right? Some of us have taken different paths. Some of us had different opportunities, but we've all got teeth, right? I would be no more happy with my tooth rotting out than anyone else, okay? I don't care if you use drugs, you don't use drugs. You're entitled to have a healthy mouth if you take care of it. And the fact that someone may have had a drug addiction for whatever reason in the past is no excuse.
No, the whole argument is bullshit for a variety of reasons, but one being that these people who are victimized on the way up with opiates are being victimized on the way down. It's not just vanity. Tooth loss, obviously, there's uses for your teeth. You chew every day, but this is also prevents individuals from having vocational capacity. It's preventing them from getting jobs. Many of these individuals lost their jobs just because of their general appearance, or have limited their ability to get gainful employment because of how they look.
Right, and you got to realize, too, when I come to you, I'm an attorney, right? If I've got some dental problems, I'm missing some teeth, you're going to think, that's weird. Why didn't that attorney fix his teeth? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you see someone who's, let's say, a homeless guy, right? And he walks up to you and he's got all rotten teeth, you think drugs, right? It's one of the first things that goes through people's minds. So if you got someone who's got a history of drug use and they're off it, like they're on Suboxone because they're not wanting to do drugs anymore, right? They're starting to go in that right direction. They're changing their life. And now this is rotting their teeth. The Suboxone itself, the fact that it's rotting their teeth is reinforcing the public perception that this person's a drug user and that this person shouldn't be hired and can't be trusted. Regardless of whether they've done drugs in the last 5 years or not, if their teeth are still rotting from the Suboxone, the assumption is they're still on drugs.
100%. And opiates, it's not like a normal street drug. These aren't people using crack cocaine. We obviously disqualify clients who've used crack cocaine, methamphetamines. A lot of individuals who had just white-collar jobs, normal, run-the-mill soccer moms, accountants, lawyers, people from all different professions got on opiates. It may have been after a surgery. There's a whole host of reasons, but that whole, I guess it is a marginalized community, but the public opinion of individuals who use opiates is not in line with reality. This could be your mom, this could be your father, this could be your son or daughter. These are just normal individuals who took the medication, got hooked on it, and then tried to get off of it, and then got victimized twice.
And sure, are some of this community made up of people who got on heroin? Yes. Is some of this people, people who use street drugs just because they wanted to? Yes. Is some of this, soccer moms who had an injury and then had to get on a painkiller and got addicted? Yes. Okay, but I don't care which one of these groups you fall from, right? You don't have to like people. You don't get to hurt them. And that's the bottom line. I don't care if someone used heroin his whole life. Doesn't give me the right to hurt them. Doesn't give you the right to hurt them. Doesn't give a company the right to hurt them.
Agreed. And I think one of the central themes that we're going to hear from the defense is we got these individuals off opiates. What is more dangerous, to be addicted to opiates or have bad teeth? Well, it's not a mutually exclusive argument, though. We could easily state that there are other alternatives. And why were they not given the tablet form? Or why were they not given a patch or any other form of Suboxone? Why sublingual? Was this tested? What did Indivior know? What did they fail to tell us?
Or why didn't we get out right away and say, this is dangerous to your teeth, rinse profusely once finished, right? Tell people how to fix it. Put it out there. Make it big. Let them know.
We'll find out. That's a great part about discovery and looking at these documents is we're going to know, when did they know? Is it a matter of they just never tested this product or didn't have enough time to because they rushed it to market? Or they actually know is even more sinister. Neither is good. And I think they're going to be responsible either way, but one looks far worse if they actually knew and failed to warn.
Well, and I think we've kind of gone through most of the updates. I don't want to get too long and start boring listeners who are here just to hear what's happened this week. So we've kind of brought them up to date as things move and as things change. We always want to keep you up to date. And anyone who's got questions, lawsuit, legal news.
Yep, just go right to the top of the menu, click on the Suboxone page. It's updated sometimes twice, 3 times a week, but at least weekly at a minimum. If you have any further questions, feel free to email us. It's Matt, M-A-T-T, at Dolman, D-O-L-M-A-N, law.com, or Stan, S-T-A-N, .Gipe, G-I-P-E, at, again, Dolman, D-O-L-M-A-N, L-A-W.com are always available to you. We look at our emails timely, respond ASAP. There is no such thing as a stupid question. This is what we do. We eat, live, breathe Suboxone cases day and night. This is much of our practice these days, and we're very committed to this lawsuit.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, and have a great day.
This episode of David vs. Goliath is over, but your journey is just getting started. To share your story with us, visit dolmanlaw.com. That's DOLMAN law.com, or call 866-965-6242. The insights and views presented in David vs. Goliath are for general information purposes only and should not be taken as legal advice for any individual case or situation. The information presented is not a substitute for consulting with an attorney, nor does tuning into this podcast constitute an attorney-client relationship of any kind. Any case result information provided on any portion of this podcast should not be understood as a promise of any particular result in a future case. Dolman Law Group. Big firm results, small firm personal attention.